Hello, Max MacGillivray from Beanstalk on this exciting broadcast with the PMA in South Africa on the citrus industry. But most importantly, Lianne, say hello to everyone, please.
Hi, everyone. Good to be back.
And Lianne, we were just catching up with all of our experts that we'll bring in a minute in our green room. How is the winter? How is the winter faring in South Africa as we lumber through our attempt at a summer in the UK, please?
Well, as you can see, Max, I'm completely wrapped up. And I think you're probably enjoying this moment because normally it's the opposite. We're scorching and boiling over here. So we've got snow on the mountains and everyone's wrapped up. So we're chilly.
Wow. Okay, but South Africa is still as beautiful as it ever is.
Of course, of course.
So I forget how many we've done now, Lianne. It feels like we must have done 6, 7 or 8, but I'm really enjoying, we're getting really good reaction to these monthly broadcasts that we're doing with yourself, with your colleagues from the PMA in South Africa on certain product areas. And I don't know if any of you caught up with it. We did a great teaser, a trailer with Justin Chadwick, the CEO of the Citrus Growers Association about a week ago with Lianne. And where that worked really well was just to get a bit of an informal understanding as to how citrus originated from South Africa, where it is today and where it's going in the future. And it's been a really good precursor, Lianne, hasn't it, for this broadcast today with the experts that we've got in and citrus as a whole. You seem, the sector seems to be in robust health. Would you think, Lianne?
Absolutely, Max. It's a very vital part of our fresh produce sector. And I'm sure quite a lot of our experts will talk about where we sit globally in terms of our exports. I believe we're the second largest exporter after Spain. Our industry is growing in production, and we have an incredible amount of technical know-how behind the scenes, making it a success. So we're bringing all of those experts today to talk about that.
And just before we get into the real dialogue about citrus, can you just give a bit of an understanding as to the PMA? I normally give it, but it'd be fantastic actually to get a bit of a better understanding from you because you're in it, you know it, you have the passion for the PMA in Southern Africa. Please tell us about the PMA.
Super, Max. Yes, so the PMA, or the Produce Marketing Association, we are a global association. And we represent pretty much everyone within the fresh produce industry, I would say from the start, so seed developers right up to retailers who sell the fresh produce at the end of the day. We cover everyone from veggies to fruit to flowers. We have a global membership. We have over 3,000 member companies globally across all different areas within the fresh produce supply chain. And what we do as an association or member-driven association is we look to connect our members to flourish in their business, and that's connecting them to each other and connecting them to vital information so that they can grow.
Lianne, fantastic. And if it wasn't for Lianne and her great colleague Jennifer, we wouldn't be able to set up this broadcast. And if you follow them on social, you can see how active Lianne, Jennifer, the PMA in Southern Africa are. And I just go back to this this video that we did with Justin. I don't know if you saw, Lianne, it's had nearly 5,000 views on our various platforms. So I can't work out. Well, it's obviously not me. So it's definitely a combination of yourself and Justin. So a big shout out to Justin. And I must just read this out. I've just been having an email dialogue with a fantastic Gloria Weir, who basically with Justin runs the Citrus Growers Association, and I owe a great debt of gratitude to Gloria because 3-4 years ago I did a motorbike ride from London to Cape Town to promote fresh produce. And we had the most amazing time and experience in South Africa. And we saw the best of all of your fresh produce. But we wouldn't have achieved that if it wasn't for Gloria, because of her skills at managing to juggle 2 itinerants on motorbikes to some of the best fresh produce businesses in South Africa. So I just said on email, I've got to embarrass Gloria because I thought it was quite a good ditty. So to Gloria, roses are red, violets are blue. We love Gloria, as does the citrus industry too. What do you think, Lianne? Will I make a poet?
Let's move on.
Excellent. Okay. So what we're going to do, the agenda is we're going to have an update from one of our key sponsors, KisanHub, the great Georgie. And then we're going to turn it over to Joe Shaw-Roberts, Insights Director for Kantar, who's going to give us his masterclass on where he thinks citrus is. And then we're going to catch up with our experts from South Africa, We're then going to have a Q&A. So if you've got any questions of any of the panel, please start to fire them in. And then we should be done in about an hour's time. So could everyone come in so we can briefly introduce you all? That would work really, really well. So as everyone's piling in, Georgie, who are you, please, and who are you representing?
Hi Max and hi everyone. I'm Georgie Knock and I am representing KisanHub today. We're a software platform that connects every seed to sale in the fresh produce supply chain.
Okay, and I take it you're not in South Africa today?
No, unfortunately not. I've never been. It's always been on the list. So one day, hopefully soon.
Excellent. I'm sure one of these gentlemen will be able to invite us over so we can so you can find out, experience amazing South African fresh produce. Joshua Roberts, you don't need an introduction, but who are you and who are Kantar?
Hi Max. So I run the GB produce team in Kantar. Kantar globally operate consumer panels, meaning we track how consumers are shopping for groceries and shopping for produce. And all of our clients use us as a tool through which to spot opportunities to grow with retailers. Worth mentioning that we've got a new consumer panel in South Africa. So should you be interested in that, drop me a note afterwards and I'll see if I can hook you up. I think our first data set's coming out in a month's time.
Fantastic. We need to ask, after your baby daughter, we found out that of her love of bananas and avocados and poms, top fruit previously. Does she like citrus, or was it a bit too sharp for her?
Do you know what? She gets through oranges. She'll absolutely munch through them. We've got to stop her, otherwise she'll just get through the whole supply. Oh,
that's hilarious. Thank you very, very much, Joe. Vaughan, who are you, please, and who are you representing?
Hi, Max. I'm the Chief Executive of Citrus Research International. So it's a research organization that provides research and technical support services to the Southern African citrus industry. I'll talk a bit more about that later.
Fantastic. And we were just saying in our green room that I was, on my trip through South Africa, I was very privileged, again, Gloria set it up for us, to visit some of Vaughan's colleagues and the setup. I don't think I've seen such an impressive setup in Africa, let alone in Europe. And I don't say that blindly. Johnny, who are you, please? Who do you represent?
I'm with the CGA Cultivar Management Company, general manager. And we were started about 2012, end of 2011, with the idea of providing an alternative to growers in South Africa for citrus varieties, protected and also open varieties as well.
Fantastic. And you were just saying in our green room how you got a little bit of snow on the mountaintop. So are you going boarding? Are you going snowboarding after this broadcast?
Nothing like that. No lifts. Not in South Africa.
But what about helicopters? Come on, there must be a way around this. Make a plan. Isn't that what you were saying?
The only way is to trudge up very slowly.
Oh, no, don't want to do that. Thank you. Rowan, who are you and who are you representing, please?
Hi, Max. Thanks for having me on. Hello, everybody. I represent FruitOne. We are a grower exporter in South Africa, managing about 2,500 hectares of citrus and then about 200 hectares of macadamias, and exporting all over the world.
Fantastic. And we were just having a catch up in the green room about your non-love of the round ball and your love of the odd ball. Is that correct?
Growing up in South Africa, you have to be a passionate rugby fan.
Okay, to all those dialing in from the UK and Europe, as you'd expect, the South Africans aren't that interested in the Euros that's currently happening in the UK. But we're all excited about the Lions going out to South Africa, and that's going to be amazing. Duo, hello. Who are you and who are you representing, please?
Hi, I'm Joe Landman. I'm representing the Landman Group. We are farmers in the Limpopo province and also in the Western Cape. Our main focus is citrus, and then also mangoes and potatoes. And we started the new almond project in the Western Cape about 2 years ago.
Wow. And if you had to have a choice, what would be your favorite citrus if you were going to, if we were coming out to visit you, what would be the citrus that you would like us to try to taste first, please?
It's a funny thing. We started packing oranges this week, and I told my father and my brother, I think it's because I grew up on a citrus farm, and way back we only had oranges. That oranges still at even now is still my favorite citrus. So I'll probably go and show you some oranges somewhere.
Oh, excellent. Okay, we've got to get some of your beautiful oranges to Joe's daughter, I think. That would be a great way to promote and advertise South Africa fresh produce. Okay, so let's get on with this. If Lianne, if you could keep your video open, Georgie, if you could keep your video open, everyone else, if I could just push you to the side, if you could turn off your video and your microphones, that'd be great. Lianne, we did a great broadcast with yourself about online platforms, and Georgie's colleague, boss, Giles was on there talking about KisanHub. Lianne, are you seeing within your membership base a rush to online platforms? Are people adopting them? Are they seeing the benefit of them?
I think they are, Max. I think if you look at, we've got 3 members in South Africa, and then KisanHub has also joined our community, which is great. And so what we're seeing is that the online platforms are definitely starting to fill a gap on requirements in the market. And we've got, covering from sort of trading, from hunger relief or sort of charity donations, right through to sort of input services. And so they are building and they are starting to fill a gap. And we also see that they, particularly in South Africa, provided an additional channel for what we call smaller scale farmers and producers to get better channels to market. So it is in growth, and the adoption is starting to happen for sure.
Fantastic, Lianne. And just to say, everyone, you can see key individuals as they go through their careers within fresh produce. Lianne is, I'm going to embarrass Lianne now. Lianne is one of those individuals. Lianne and I have known each other for too many years, haven't we? Georgie's a really interesting one as well. If you look at Georgie's background on LinkedIn and her association with KisanHub and where KisanHub are going, if you don't already, follow both Lianne and Georgie on the likes of LinkedIn and via the PMA or KisanHub, because they're definitely two very important people in the sector to watch. Lianne, could you just turn off your video, please? So Georgie, I'm just going to hand it over to you. Could you tell us a bit more about KisanHub and how it could be beneficial to fresh produce growers, companies, whether it be in South Africa or internationally, please? Over to you.
Thank you so much, Max. We are a software platform that fills the huge information gap that Lianne mentioned that currently exists in the fresh produce supply chain. So we can track the progress of the crops all the way from the moment that they're planted to the moment that they're delivered at the factory gate and then picked up by the ERP system. So we're really dealing with that messy middle bit of the supply chain where producer groups really commonly suffer from a lack of visibility, whether it be on the quality of their incoming produce, their expected actual yields, and then the anticipated delivery dates as well, because too often loads are just turned away because maybe they're not on spec or they're late, which is not good for either margin or relationships with those key customers. So we really want to do something about that. And so we're replacing those siloed spreadsheets, which I'm sure a lot of people on this call today are juggling currently. And our software gives just greater predictability, because when you have all that information and data about your supply and procurement in one place, then you can really see how you can improve your margins, reduce your waste, as well as make, a great service to your customers as well. So how we do this is a set of dashboards, which shows how the growers are performing, as well as how the crops are progressing throughout the whole season. And this offers the perfect blend of both procurement and commercial information for easy reporting and analytics. And these dashboards are fed by our 4 modules, so you can turn these on and off and use as you wish. But the first one is we call Monitor, which provides our live updates to track your crop's progress. And then Inventory, so you can view both your field and store inventories in the same place. And then we've got our Quality, which is more for the technical side of things, which monitors your market suitability and your crop quality based on the thresholds that you set. So these can be completely customizable depending on your customer's requirements. And then finally, we have Supply. So this captures and shares your provenance, your quality and your compliance all in a digital way, which is brilliant for the 21st century. And just to wrap up, we're really excited to offer an 8-week free trial. So if any of this interests you, or would you like to just learn more, then please get in touch with either myself or my team. You can find us on KisanHub.com, or you can email myself at georgina@KisanHub.com. And just to wrap up, I'm going to do a shameless plug for our webinar tomorrow afternoon, which is 1 p.m. UK time, so it's 2 p.m. in South Africa. And we'd love for you guys to join us. We're interviewing the joint MD of Vaughan at Jupiter Group, which is one of our customers and also based out in South Africa as well. Quite a few of you might have heard of them already. And so please join us. It's only 30 minutes. And just thank you so much. I'm really, really enjoying these sessions, and I can't wait to learn more about the citrus industry this afternoon. So thank you.
Georgie, well done. And if you're watching from the UK, we were talking about it in our green room, that there's cereals is on, I think it's, what's it, Georgie, next Wednesday, next Thursday.
Yes.
And Georgie and I are going there. Neither of us have got stands there, but we're going to try and film Georgie when we're on site. So if you want to get in contact and see Georgie and the team actually live in the UK at cereals next week, just reach out to her via the website or via LinkedIn. Or if you're from South Africa and you've got a private jet and you can get over quickly to a rather cold and wet Lincolnshire, because it's always cold and wet, you can see her there. So Georgie, just tell us one more time, how can we get in contact with KisanHub, please?
The easiest way is via our website. So we've got our contact page there. Or you can email hello@KisanHub, or you can email me directly at georgina@kisanhub.com, or you can find us on social media, all the places.
Georgie, thank you very much. So KisanHub, definitely one to watch. We know so many key companies, a la the likes of Jupiter, with a footprint in UK, South Africa, help me Georgie, India and Greece, I think Egypt as well, who've adopted the KisanHub technology. So it's definitely one to look out for if you're looking for that type of groundbreaking technology that is robust and reliable for the future. Georgie, thank you. Just stay there a minute. Joe, could you come in, please? So I always think there's a really interesting link here, Joe, between the likes of online platforms and yourself. Joe, is there a link as of yet between the data that you're producing within Kantar and online platforms, or am I anticipating a little bit too much there?
Well, yeah, there definitely is, insofar as we're tracking people's shopping behaviour. So we've seen an absolute explosion of online shopping behaviour, which was plateauing before last year. So that's been broken now. Older people much more comfortable with online shopping, and now getting to the stage where we're kind of unwinding and we're figuring out where that's going to go. Yeah. So definitely tracking much more activity there.
But Joe, in the respect of the data, the fantastic data that you produce, can that be migrated into the likes of a KisanHub system or other online platforms, or a CRM system? Is that there, or am I naive to think that?
No, several of our clients do use our raw data and plug it into their own systems. We've also got our own system that can house multiple data sources. So that's a one-stop shop. And equally, there's the flexibility to use it how you like as well. Okay. So you're absolutely right.
Georgie, contact Joe after this and see if that will work. Georgie, if you could just turn off your video and your audio, that's fantastic. So Joe, as I mentioned earlier with Lianne, where it's been so impressive with Kantar, with the likes of the avocado broadcast that we did and the POM, you just gave such an interesting perspective as to those industry sectors. And we had your colleague Rakesh on for a broadcast we did with British growers, where he gave a masterclass on where veg has gone. So if you haven't seen Joe or Kantar in the respect of what they do, what they can present, just watch this. Joe, over to you.
Thank you, Max. Bear with me 1 second while I share my screen.
I know, as normal, just make sure we can see it. We can see it, Joe.
Super. Okay, I'm going to minimize myself. Fantastic. So how did citrus fruit perform last year in the UK, and how can we expect it to perform this year? I'll be talking you through some of the key highlights from the massive citrus growth over 2020 and where we think that is heading. And first up, really interesting stat for anyone who's tracking citrus's performance against other fruits. As soon as we entered that first lockdown period, citrus just started eating share away from all other fruit types. And it was almost as if shoppers were going, look, we recognize the health benefits of this, or we're getting so fed up, we're going to drink loads and use lots of lemons and limes in our cocktails. And citrus really took off in a way that not many other fruit types did. And it managed to sustain that throughout most of 2020. Now, I mentioned people definitely saw something in citrus. It was overwhelmingly the health benefits. So when we track why citrus was being consumed, over 80% of citrus consumption during various lockdowns were chosen for health benefits. And that's twice as many as other fruits. So specifically shoppers looking for the vitamin C content of citrus and recognizing already that that's a really strong message that citrus carries, and definitely one that we need to be continuing to push as an industry. So what happened as a result of this? People recognizing all of these fantastic health benefits of citrus. Well, of course, citrus starts to steal from other fruits. So we know that stone fruit had a tough year last year. The green bar on the top of here articulates the extent to which citrus stole from other fruits. The chart on the right hand side shows the millions of pounds switched from other fruits into citrus. So we can see stone fruit, berries, bananas, grapes in particular, all lost out as shoppers flocked to various citrus types. But not only did shoppers move out of other fruits, shoppers who were buying citrus already increased their spend on the category, and existing fruit shoppers started adding citrus into their baskets more and more often as well, all of which amounted to an extra £50 million over the 24 weeks, capturing the key lockdown periods. So really successful year for citrus. We saw some new shoppers here too. Very difficult to get new shoppers into a category as highly penetrated as citrus, but we did manage to get some younger consumers in. So both pre-family and young families, many of whom traditionally will probably be interacting a bit more in that out-of-home sphere, buying more citrus in home and using it there. Dare we say for a few stress-relieving cocktails. The challenge really now is, how do we keep them in? How do we keep them engaged with the category and stop them falling out as we resume our normal lives? And on that note, it's pertinent firstly to recognise the fact that 5.1% of citrus shoppers in 2020 were completely new to the category. So 5%, not insignificant, but when we put that in actual terms, that's 1.3 million shoppers, worth just shy of £10 million. So this is like a one-time opportunity for lots of industries who saw lots of different shoppers engaging with their products last year. We really need to do a lot of marketing activity to keep them engaged, because they're already hooked. We just need to make sure they continue buying our products. Yeah, and we can offer more info in this space. So if you get in touch with me, we're happy to help here. We can help you understand what the consumption habits of these shoppers are, so you can communicate with them in ways that we know can be customizable and effective to them. You can tweak your marketing to make sure that these shoppers, or we'll make sure that we do our best to keep them in the category when there's a good chance that they're falling out at the moment. And that is exactly what we see at the moment. So we look at what's happening so far this year in the 12 weeks to the 16th of May. Green bars to the left of this line articulate lost shoppers, and then the pink bar indicates lost spend through lower average prices as well. So these are the two key trends that are impacting the citrus category as a whole this year. We can see notably, easy peelers and oranges, quite significant lost shoppers there, and across the board too. So just an indication that this activity is going to be really relevant if we're to stop this shopper loss in citrus. But when it comes to what's going to happen, it's very difficult to predict the future using data, and generally we can look back to get a flavour of what's going to go on looking forward. We estimate that this year will net out, from a fresh fruit perspective, 3% higher than pre-COVID. So if you took citrus as a rough barometer of that, citrus had a particularly good year, but was already on a reasonably decent up growth trajectory in the UK before that. I think we can expect citrus to be slightly higher, probably about 4 to 5% higher than pre-COVID. For fruit as a whole, that's an extra £173 million. So although that's going to net out as a year-on-year decline of 11%, we should still recognise that fundamentally a lot of shoppers are going to be kept in the category and kept engaged purely by all this time spent at home over the last year having different citrus fruits. So a really quick overview of some pertinent issues in the industry there, and a quick plug that we can answer many more of your questions and help connect you with retailers to win more business in the UK, as well as South Africa, where our data set's launching next month, and various other European countries. So do get in touch with me if you think that you need some data to support you in retailer discussions. That's it from me, Max.
Joe, what do we all say? Information is power. Lianne, can you just come back in, please? Joe, what's your? So it's great that you have that understanding of citrus. Just so we can get where do you and your colleagues feel fresh produce consumption and sales are going over the next 2 to 3 years? Because we've been all very optimistic on all of our broadcasts that the consumer knows that to be better to counter any form of this pandemic, or God forbid another one, they've got to eat more fresh produce. Do you think generally if everything is in a positive direction in respect to fresh produce consumption?
It's a slow movement, but it's heading in the right direction. So when I joined the produce team about 3 years ago, our average consumption in the UK was 3.2 items of fruit and veg a week, and a day, and we all know we're meant to be getting 5. That's now around about 3.8. So, hardly making waves, but when you put that into the context of a 60 million population, that's pretty good, I think.
Yeah, and it's coincidental that we've got some in the UK. We've got some big campaigns on the go at the moment. We've got a campaign called Veg Power that's got a lot of free TV advertising, and we've I'm sure you're all aware of it. The United Nations 2021 Year of Fruit and Veg. So you'd hope that would also assist. Lianne, any comments on the back of Joe's presentation, please? Lianne, just turn on your ears. Lianne, turn on your ears.
Sorry, Max, chatting away. So yeah, it's just interesting to see that there has sort of been some feedback from members that I've spoken to that the buying power has declined, particularly for citrus versus last year with COVID. So some of that is feeding back into our growers exporters. They're definitely seeing a buying power decline. And that's probably, the price is not being seen particularly for citrus in the consumption markets. So we're sort of getting quite a lot of that feedback in this year.
Understood. Joe, thank you very much. Before we love you and leave you, how does your baby daughter, how does she like to have her citrus?
All over the place, I think. Completely scattered everywhere. We've got to be very careful with the skins so she doesn't choke, but that means all the segments fall out and she can throw them where she wants. So some of it makes it into her mouth, I'm sure.
Excellent. I think, Lianne, we've got to, Joe, I always forget, what's your daughter's name, please?
Evie.
Evie, Lianne, I think we need to set up Evie, a South African fresh produce Instagram account, and we just need to send her lots of different South African citrus to try. I think the look at her face and the short clips TikTok would be amazing. Joe, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you on. And just how can everyone get in contact with yourself and Kantar, please?
So find myself on LinkedIn. It's Joseph Shaw Roberts, or email me joseph.shawroberts@kantar.com.
Fantastic. Joe, thank you very much. If you could turn off your video, that'd be great.
Thank you, everyone.
Well done, Joe. And Vaughan, if you could come on in, that would be fantastic. Vaughan, any thoughts, any comments on the back of Joe's presentation, please?
Yeah, Max, I think those are sort of the sharp end things that influence the consumer's interest in the product. We're more focused on enabling the producers and the exporters to land that fruit in the marketplace, and hopefully we can attach a bit of a good story behind it as well. That'll stimulate some of that lost interest.
Excellent. Well done. That's going to be our mission for today and for the rest of the year. So can you tell us, for those that don't know, a little bit more about the Citrus Research International Unit business, please?
Yeah, Max, so we refer to it as CRI, the acronym, and it's we're a research organization. It's a virtual research institute. The mission is to enable the sustained global competitiveness of the Southern African citrus industry, and we aim to achieve that through providing research and technical support services to the industry. And it consists of, there's a CRI, the company. We've got our own infrastructure and personnel and and so on. But then we've got a much bigger group alliance partnership. So it's the virtual part of the institute. So there are a number of universities that play a key role. Agricultural Research Council, and then we've got a variable component of international collaborators that form part of the network as they join in on projects. Yeah.
And I should have been, but I wasn't aware of the international aspect. That's a bit naive of me. What's the scope of the research and the technical element of the CRI, please?
Yeah, Max. So we talk about a research organization, and one might think that it's just a bunch of scientists sitting in laboratories behind microscopes, but it's far broader than that. So CRIs, if we just look at the divisional structure of it, we've obviously got the research division, which is by far the largest component of the business. And it's a very broad scope of scientific disciplines. So we've got it divided into entomology and horticulture and plant pathology, and they deal with both pre and post-harvest components of research. But that's only the research component, and so we all know that research output without implementation is of no value. So an integral component of the structure is an extension division, and that's part of the interesting recipe that CRI's put together, is that the extension division is not only there to ensure that the output of research is actually implemented and taken up by all the components of the citrus industry, but they also play a very important role in identifying what the industry's research needs are. And I think that's one of the key things about the Southern African citrus industry's research focus, is that it's always remained very closely aligned with industry needs. And those industry needs are not only the production side. So extension operates a very wide range of stakeholder representation fora, which includes packaging, pack houses, exporters, technical panel, and including then obviously the producers, and that then establishes the platform on which the research can then focus.
Yeah. And I'm Vaughan, some of your colleagues, your associated businesses, research organisations in the UK are very jealous of you, because I believe that you've had an increase in funding, in research funding. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, Max. I mean, we're as an organisation, we're in a very privileged position in the Southern African citrus industry. There's been a very long history of recognising the value of research in determining the future success of the industry. So, if we look at it historically, it was in the mid-1950s that the industry decided to start investing in its own research and technical capacity, and that kind of laid the foundation for what CRI is today, and it's progressed through the history of the industry and to where it is now. So the industries recognize this, and it's a global reality. Any industry that's heavily dependent on technology needs to keep investing in research to remain competitive, and I guess the recognition of that, the industry has agreed to increase the level of funding. And the level of funding goes hand in hand with, you saw the teaser from Justin, this massive increase in plantings and production. So to remain competitive, you need to also remain on the forefront of technologies to be able to do that. So that's the basis of the increased funding and why it's relevant.
Okay. And if I had my binoculars, having been to your facility 3-4 years ago, been hugely impressed. If I was lucky enough to come to your facility, say 4 years, 5 years from now, what would you all look like? Where do you want to go? What does success look like for the CRI, please?
Yeah, Max, you would probably in about a year's time, you probably wouldn't recognize that facility anymore. It's currently in the planning phase to get another whole level. So the entire facility is going up by one level.
Wow.
But that's, Max, that's only just one of the facilities. So we've got presence in the different regions. So that's in Nelspruit, and we've got in Letsiteli, Pretoria, Port Elizabeth, Uitenhage, Stellenbosch, are all facilities that are linked in with CRI. And then additionally, the Alliance partnership network, but that's just the infrastructure. There's a whole lot behind the increased funding and the plan as to how that increased funding gets translated into a more ensuring the sustained competitiveness of the industry in the future.
Yeah, no, well said, Vaughan. I always take a view that's, well, we haven't said it yet on this broadcast, that the best citrus in the world is grown in South Africa. And that's only because of the likes of the good work that yourself and your colleagues do. So, yes, we look forward to seeing where you take yourselves next to continue that success with the South African fresh produce sector. I always say that a business is going to do well when it's worried, and because it's worried, it's self-analysing itself, and it's trying to strategize to work its way around the various speed bumps. And crikey, we've all had some speed bumps over the last year, but I think it's going to be a very exciting time for you and your colleagues and the CRI.
Yeah, Max, it sure is, and there's some really, interesting areas that research can really make a contribution to changing the future of citrus, and some of those research areas are actually quite interesting for general public, so it's not all just high-tech stuff that obscure genetic work that people do. There's some really nice little stories about the research that one does that relates to consumers as well. Sort of how are we changing the profile of citrus that it becomes more attractive to the consumer, and how does it respond to changing market demands and consumer expectations, and there's some really neat areas of research that focus on that, in particular the pest and disease management strategies, getting away from or reducing the reliance on conventional plant protection product chemical inputs and replacing them with a wide array of very interesting and imaginative new ways of managing pests and diseases and producing that quality product.
Vaughan, I think we're very lucky, very fortuitous to have the likes of
ensuring that it's quality.
Thank you, Vaughan. I think we're very lucky, very fortuitous to have the likes of your colleagues working not only for South African fresh produce, but for fresh produce globally. Let's get Johnny in to get his view. Here comes Johnny. Vaughan, thank you very much. So Johnny, what do you think so far? What do you think of what Vaughan's just said? What did you think of Joe's presentation?
Well, that was fascinating. I definitely will be heading back to link in with him. Very, very interesting stuff. Vaughan, just a reference of Vaughan, that they're not a bunch of scientists in a lab doing much broader things than that. I've been in them post presentations in their symposiums at 9 o'clock in the 19th hole. And they get into the broader stuff as well. I've had a good few scotches with Vaughan, and they're a very dynamic crowd. I think he undersells himself a little bit. They do some really fascinating stuff. And I think that this industry can be extremely proud of what CRI has achieved. having taken that on from the Cape Span days.
Yeah. So yeah, let's watch them with my binoculars and then see how they progress. So Johnny, you and I have got a problem. The problem is that Lianne has already pre-warned me that I apparently like to talk and you apparently like to talk, and we've got 10 minutes, you know, before we need to move on to the Q&A. So let's rush through this, but in a really orchestrated manner. Citrus Growers Association, Cultivar Company. Tell us everything, please.
Okay, well, can I just put up the presentation quickly? Yeah.
And don't no rush. We've just got to be done by Christmas, Lianne said.
Okay. Hang on, I'm just going to just bear with me.
Johnny, this is great on the podcast because people, when they're listening to the podcast, driving a tractor or running or shopping, they're wondering, well, what's Johnny doing? I can't see because it's obviously a podcast. I wonder what he's going to show.
Well, I'll tell you what I've just done is I've actually switched off what I was going to show you. So I'll put it back on if I can find it. But yeah, just coming back to it while I do that, the Citrus Growers Association was basically started as a result of growers wanting an alternative to cultivar management companies specifically regarding private protected cultivars. And I think the concern was that at the stage of the inception of our company, we were probably in a very close to controlled almost by the one or two cultivar companies at that stage. Wow. I think the idea was to try and not take over the space, but to provide an alternative. I think we've achieved that in a relatively short space of time. We started from zero base 2012.
Wow. Okay.
The idea and how we could do that would be basically that we would have no profit objectives. So profits that we do eventually, we're not quite there yet, but when we get to the stage, profits would be used exclusively for the promotion of the objectives which the company was started. And that was basically the mission, is to ensure that the South African citrus growers are provided with timely access to cultivars so that we're competitive internationally, and then those varieties to be provided on reasonable terms and conditions. Another concern would have been, and that goes around our value statement, which would be to ensure the protection of breeder and grower rights by promoting ethical practices, fairness, healthy competition in the cultivar management space. And then to set out how do you arrive in a highly competitive space with no cultivars. That was quite challenging. You had to set up about a bunch of differentiation criteria that would attract, firstly, the people that breed varieties or discover varieties, why they should use us. And so those main criteria that we targeted were profitability, affordability, relationship, and reputation, which I think was a bit strained and tenuous in the first days of when we arrived in the space. There were a lot of concerns of growers not receiving a good rap in terms of varieties. So that was our mission. And then the main target was to get a bunch of varieties together, and I think the fact that we had no profit objective allowed us to not take much middleman space, profit out of the owner's share of the variety, and obviously not loading a royalty to being too expensive. And as we started doing that, it's been very evident that it's become a much more level playing field. Prices are becoming far more, not just from us, but becoming far more reasonable, and the conditions are becoming more reasonable. So I like to think that we've been pretty successful coming into the space now, and we've got it's even more competitive, which is extremely good, I think, for the industry. So we've got, when I started, there were 2 private cultivar companies. There are probably about 7 now, including us. So,
and Johnny, do you think the rootstock? Do you think the rootstock will become protected at some point in the future? Do you think that's just a natural evolution, natural progression?
Yes, a very interesting thing. I could probably talk about it later, but just quickly, the rootstock, which is currently an open source variety, and there are also some science varieties, eating varieties that are open, but that's declining. But the biggest space is the rootstocks, and I think one of the things that Vaughan would tell you is probably the biggest concern, HLB, Wanglongbing, Chinese, the Asian greening disease. And that Vaughan would tell you that it's not if, it's when it arrives. It is in the southern parts of California now. It's decimated Florida. It's a huge management issue in Brazil, and huge challenges caused by this disease and the vector, control of the vector, the little psyllid fly. And one of our possible saviors, saving graces, might be in rootstocks. The disease resides in that part of the plant, and there are certain discoveries that have been made in Florida that scientists there are looking at, which would probably be very interesting. But once again, those are discoveries, and the people that discover them would be wanting to apply a protection to that, and a royalty most likely. So you'll probably see that space changing over time as well.
Thank you. I think it's one that we're all very keen to investigate, because obviously there's similar issues within the banana sector, and we need people like yourself and Vaughan to create those solutions so that we can still enjoy the amazing fresh produce. Reverse trends, varietal development for health with the increase in hard citrus consumption. That's it. The market in some respects is coming towards you, is it not?
Yeah, I found myself here. I'm just going to quickly. It was quite difficult saying who we are, what we do, and I was trying to find.
Everyone on the podcast, Johnny's come good. We've managed to multitask.
There you go. Okay, so I'm going to just skip past that. We've done that, and then I was just going through a couple of old slides. This is a 2010 to 2015, and that was the trend very much happening then. At that stage, it was just quite clear what was going to happen, or so we thought. And soft citrus, in that soft citrus space, you see the first lots of soft citrus, the red bars, are pretty much running along at about 1 million buds supplied per year, and those were all the Novas and Clementines and Satsumas, which were open source varieties. And then suddenly, 2014, everybody realized that they're getting enormous prices for Clement Gold, Nadorcots, whatever you call it, Afura. And that's when the change started, and people started bailing out of oranges. Just an interesting slide, this next slide now, 2011, when I arrived in the industry. Just take a note of the soft citrus there, 9%, and Navels at 26%, Valencia's at 41%. Dior says he likes oranges. Well, the industry's changed. 2021, the consumer likes soft citrus. If you look at the percentages down there on the right, soft citrus has gone to 24% from 8%. And that's trees in the ground. The first slide I showed you with the bar graphs, that was budwood that we supplied in that year, 2015. And it takes about 5 years to produce a tree. So these are those trees now coming into production. And you see there obviously a huge change from lemon lime, which was also 8% at that stage, now 19, more than doubled. Grapefruit, the previous slide was about 14 and it's gone down to 9%. But hugely, Valencias and navels have decreased. Valencia probably has maintained its plantings. Navel has been the one of the oranges that's really changed the scenario. And then coming back to what you said, a reverse trend. So this is a slide. I'm assuming you can see it.
We can.
It showed there in purple. It showed what was happening up to about 2013, 2014. I have a picture there. I think our photographs are blocking it, but more or less the same picture, bearing down on 2 million buds supplied per year. So purple was becoming dominant, and we thought that would continue, and then quite the reverse happened. The following year, the grey area is open source varieties, and the following year it was just holding its nose above the water ahead of the protected varieties, and that was the lemon, the lemon effect. That was every grower bailing into lemons because they were yielding fantastic prices in the market. A good few wine farmers also came flying into the industry as well, because wine was battling at that stage, and they poured a lot of hectares into growing lemons. But the lemon held the hard citrus and the open citrus almost alongside the protected varieties. All lemons are open source. Valencias, a lot of Valencias, of the most important Valencias, Midnights, are open varieties. So then 2018, 2019, you see a big dip, and it goes protected again. And that was Tango arriving in South Africa. And there was quite a tussle between Nadorcot seedless and Tango, the release of those protected varieties. So everybody thought, okay, here we go again. It's going to be dominated by hard citrus. And then it leveled off again. And this last year, I think a lot of what Joe said has come to play, the reverse trend that you opened question with. And that probably some of the effects Justin talked about in his recent discussions I've read in our journal. The fewer trips to supermarkets by consumers have produced, it's actually changed consumers' like back to oranges, not only because of some of the things that Joe said, and they like them and they associated them with vitamin C, but they store better. They don't need to take up your fridge space. A soft citrus variety does.
Okay.
So you can hurl your oranges into the same basket with your onions and taties. And I think there was also a recognition of a bigger source of vitamin C, as Joe said. So this slide doesn't play into that, but I think in future it could continue holding off the protected varieties, which basically lie in the soft citrus sector.
Okay.
And I think for a few years to come, depending on what Joe's figures look like in future, how this plays out, I'm not quite sure. Do we stay with additional online purchases? If you think about an online variety, if you're an online kind of logistic company, yes?
Johnny, keep going. Everyone else, can you come in? Because it's a really good point to bring everyone else. Go on, Johnny. So you think that online?
Are they all there?
Yeah. Don't worry about them. You keep going.
Okay.
Johnny, if you could just stop your screen share as well.
Okay.
So yeah, the online versus the conventional. It is going to be fascinating to see how that develops. So Johnny, it's a bit. So as Justin was saying on the teaser, on the trailer that we did with Lianne, that he was quite robust as to where the direction of South African citrus is going. Johnny, are you positive about where South African citrus is going, or do you see some significant speed bumps that we need to talk about, that we need to be aware of, such as disease? What do you think, Johnny?
Several things. I think there's some of the things like disease will probably, depending on how we manage to deal with HLB when it comes, as Vaughan says, not if, when. When it will come, it definitely will put the brakes on. Disease control will be a huge issue. I think there are other drivers in the market that might reverse the trends. As I said, the hard citrus uptake over COVID times and how long COVID is going to play out. Vaughan talked about COVID in South Africa. We're probably going to get vaccinated within 10 years, the last stats that I saw yesterday. It's going to take us a while. And yeah, the health factors of hard citrus, I think, are probably going to also be come into play. Hard citrus carries some very strong chemical compounds that are critical to health.
Johnny, well done. What a masterclass. Rowan, are you positive about where South African citrus is going, or am I being a bit alarmist? So, are there speed bumps coming along that we need to be aware of? What do you think, Rowan?
Oh, not at all. I'm very positive about the industry in general. If you have a look at the growth patterns that we've seen in the last 10 or 20 years, that forecast is there to stay. I think Justin was very clear in what he said in the pre-interview. We're going from 160 million cartons this year to 200 million cartons in the next 3 years, and from there on to 260 million cartons. And I think because of the work that the CGA and Vaughan and his team have done, South Africa are probably in the forefront when it comes to production practices in citrus industry globally. You've seen all the changes in the varieties that we are bringing in, not only through the CGA, but also through the protected varieties that are coming in. And I think there's place for both of those in the industry. I'm very positive about what we see. I mean, South Africa, in the citrus industry in South Africa, adds tremendously to our GDP and also to employment. And with the growth in volumes, that's only going to get better.
Yep. And there's a whole lovely story about all the empowerment elements of the sustainability that's coming through. But market access, if you look at the UK, we did a really clever thing 5 years ago. The anniversary was yesterday, a thing called Brexit, where we're trying to make it as difficult as possible for anyone to trade with us. Don't ask me why. Are you happy, convinced that this additional volume of product that you're growing, that there will be a home for it? What do you think? The amazing produce that you're growing, do you think there will be a future home for it globally?
Well, I think what we've seen globally is there's an increase in the need to eat healthy. And what we're seeing now is, particularly with COVID, that need or that trend is actually increasing. So the CGA are very involved in market access and developing new market access. And we've also seen just recently, lemon protocol for China has now changed. So we're likely to see a significant increase in our lemon volumes being shipped into China outside of the stereo protocol. So changes like that are definitely positive for us.
Okay, what I wrote, what do you think? Do you think there will be market access for your product?
Yes, I think so. Behind the scenes, especially the CGA with Dallard, the government are working very hard to get market access all over the world. And for instance, with the China lemons protocol to make it easier to get quality produce to the countries where we are sending at the moment. The thing that's important for us in our own company is to have a balance from the beginning to the end of the season. And I think that might be a challenge, but definitely something that as an industry, if we work together, for instance, in the grapefruit we are all working together to market our product longer over the season and not supply it in a few weeks that we did a few years ago. So there's definitely a lot of people that's working together to get the volumes that we are producing in a good quality condition in the designated countries.
Fantastic. Vaughan, you very kindly raise your hand. What do you think? Do you think there will be good market access for this additional product that's coming on stream?
Yeah, Max, that's one of the overarching priorities of the research effort in Southern Africa is to ensure that we can gain, retain, and optimize conditions of access to market. So it's a primary focus of all of this technology that we bring to bear. And obviously that's a key factor in ensuring the sustained competitiveness of the industry. Opening access to new markets, retaining access to existing markets, where it comes under challenge, and then optimizing those conditions. The lemons to China is a classic example of optimizing the conditions. So there's an agreement to change the temperatures at which lemons are shipped. The previous temperatures were damaging to quality. We can now ship lemons to China once this protocol has been finalized at temperatures that are less damaging. So you can now suddenly land that product in a good condition in the market. And there's so much opportunity still in terms of gaining, retaining, and optimizing market access for Southern African citrus that I'm really not concerned at all about the massive increase in plantings and future yield. There's still great opportunity ahead.
Well done, Vaughan. And what about logistics? Because I know that you've had a slight problem with the likes of lack of containers, because we've probably got them all in the UK because they're all full of PPE stuffed in our ports. You always learn from adversity. You always learn from a crisis. Do you think? And having said that, we mentioned it with the trailer with Justin. I think that what all of you within the citrus community within South Africa managed to accomplish over COVID last year was just another masterclass to behold. But on the logistics side, can you see you all learning from that and creating a better solution ongoing? What do you think, Johnny?
You're hitting me with a logistics question.
Yep.
I totally agree. Sorry, can I just go back? I was about to put my hand up for another question, and it was just to back up what Vaughan's just said. What they achieved, the CRI and the CGA, in opening and maintaining and actually optimizing that Chinese market was miraculous. It is fantastic. Well, it's been sustained hard work for about 5 or 6 years, and that's going to open up 25,000 tons of lemons potentially. So I totally agree with Vaughan. What I was going to put my hand up for was, in terms of logistics, it answers this question as well, and packing and all the things that go with it, is we need to, I heard a very interesting point by Dr. Graham Barry, who said, as a grower, you need to think in terms of the entire portfolio, a portfolio of shares. So don't look at providing peaks in the industry, growing too much, say late mandarins. Let's spread the soft citrus right across the season. So that's our function and how we're approaching it. So try and dissipate, going from earlier varieties through the middle season. We've got enough in the late season, and I think we can do a damn good job with the breeders that are providing new varieties in the early and mid season.
So, Johnny,
does that answer your question logistically?
It does.
It'll help logistics.
There's that great expression, the Kansas City shuffle. Everyone looks left, you go right. If you're persuading your growers to slightly spread out the growing patterns with the varieties, it's going to be beneficial to everyone. Rowan, what do you think? Is the logistics, is it something that you're overly concerned about, or do you just see that as a speed bump at this point in time?
No, I think it's a speed bump at this point in time. We had a bit of a difficulty at the beginning of the season, but things have evened out quite easily. I think South Africans, if nothing else, are entrepreneurial and are always looking for solutions. Us within our group, we've been working on numerous solutions to make sure that we get our fruit onto the water in the most efficient means possible. And as an industry, generally, we tend to do that.
Yeah. And do you as everyone seems to be very, very confident on the logistics side, and your view of that, do you not see that as an issue, that was just an issue from last year perhaps?
Yeah, it can be an issue, but there's a lot of things that we are doing to help that issues. If you look at the rail solutions that a lot of people are starting, or a lot of farmers are starting to use, ourselves we're using a container depot about an hour from us, so we load our pallets to the container depot, let's say tele-container depot, and it's on the train and goes straight into the harbor onto the boat, and that helps a lot, especially with the trucks and the roads that we are struggling with. But what we also do is we have a facility where we pack our fruit, and we try to optimize the facility from the beginning of the season. Say in Hoedspruit we start in March up until the end of September, and by doing that you're also spreading your season and the volumes through the year and taking pressure off the peaks.
Yeah, fantastic. And everyone, we're just slightly running out of time. One question I've just had in on WhatsApp: the consumer is really keen to know about where the produce comes from. South Africa Fresh Produce has an ongoing marketing campaign, but if anything, the consumers wanted to know more about sustainability, about the growers, about the farmers, how the product is moved. What are your views as to where South African citrus can promote themselves in the respect of the sustainability and the empowerment schemes and the difference that you can make as citrus growers within South Africa? What can we tell global consumers about South African citrus in respect of that whole sustainability message? Vaughan, should we start with you, please?
Yeah, Max, I mean, linking on with some of what I said in the beginning, you know, there are research projects that are making fantastic progress in finding ways to manage pest and disease challenges with a reduced reliance on conventional chemical inputs. You know, that in itself creates a profile for citrus fruit, which is perfectly aligned with the consumer's interest in minimizing environmental impact. You know, optimizing the assurance of food safety, and that's the kind of technology that requires highly experienced, capable research to enable you to produce this kind of volume, and to be agile in the way in which we produce fruit, to remain in touch with what our markets do. And that's what South Africa has always done marvelously, remained in touch with what the markets want from them.
Brilliant. Rowan, if I was lucky enough when we're allowed to bring a handful of food influencers to come and see you and your citrus colleagues in South Africa, what would you love to show them about citrus, about the sustainability, about how you are growing in an environmental way that they're going to be impressed with, and tell all the zillions of followers? How can we impress them? What do you think?
Well, I think very importantly, citrus growers typically are environmentalists first and foremost, and you'll often find that they have large tracts of land where they actively protect the environment and protect nature. So that's something that I think is terribly important that we as an industry communicate. I think it goes without saying that social responsibility and ethical trading are part and parcel of that as well.
Yeah, well said. We said it with Justin, with my little box of citrus fruit from South Africa. All it says is a little label on here: made in South Africa. And I don't know what the answer is, whether it's QR codes, whether it's videos, whether it is actually looking to persuade some bloggers, some Instagram stars on a food perspective to come down to South Africa so that they can tell everyone. There's still this issue with the likes of the UK that 6 out of 10 kids don't know where fresh produce comes from. So for us to influence all of them so that they know what great things citrus growers are doing and growing, so that influences the consumer and the kids to buy more fresh produce. Johnny, sustainability, it's not a greenwashing phrase because it's going to be here for a long term. What do you think we can say to influence the consumer internationally to buy more South African fresh produce, especially citrus, through that sustainability message, please?
I think it comes back to what I was talking about just now. Is certainly if we can spread the crop across the entire season, so you're producing fresh stuff at the right time of the season, it's season fresh. It's not had to go through a peak in the market spread, in the variety spread. It hasn't had to sit around in markets, and I think that's what South Africa is doing in a very positive way. The cultivars that are being introduced into the industry now are very exciting and achieving that. So I think we're going to have lots of varieties coming at their optimum quality at the right time through the whole season.
Johnny, well done. Duo, what do you think? How would you look to promote sustainability? How would you look to promote the environmental aspects of what you do, please?
Yes, it's if you look at a citrus orchard, for instance, you will start planning your orchard maybe 3 years before you plant it, or even start preparing the land for it. Then your orchard will get planted, it will start bearing fruit, and it will probably be producing optimal up to these days, I would say 50 years. I'm guessing now, taking the average.
Wow.
So that is so to be sustainable almost comes naturally being a citrus farmer, because you can't take a short-term view on it. You have to take a long-term view on it. And as you go on, you start replacing. So every year you will also replace orchards, and that will bring you to another 50 years looking after that orchard. And if you look at replacing orchards, you have to look after the soil, because you're going to replace it. You can't just leave it and go on to find another land.
Fantastic. Well done. Citrus is for life, not just a Christmas. So everyone, just to wrap up as we're running out of time, could you tell UK, American, Asian retailers, customers as to why you think they should buy amazing South African fresh produce? Come on, Vaughan, you go first. Why should we all buy South African citrus, please?
Because it is grown to meet the consumer's highest expectations. You won't be disappointed.
Fantastic. Johnny, come on. Why? Thank you, Vaughan. Johnny, why should we buy South African citrus, please?
Clearly, because we've got such a diverse climate area that we are able to plant varieties that are specific to certain climates and produce a fantastic spread. I've traveled in Florida where you're limited to juice type fruits, and we are able to do fantastic Valencias, grapefruit, lemons, soft citrus in specific climate areas that they require. So I think we're very climate specific for our varieties.
Excellent. Johnny, someone's just WhatsApped me to say it sounds like South Africa is the Garden of Eden. Gio, how can you persuade us, not that you need to, but how can you persuade us to buy more South African citrus, please?
I think the South Africa is a small little country on the southern tip of Africa that is the second largest exporter of citrus in the world. And that is not by luck. It's through dedication and hard work and research and marketing and a lot of things. So, and the reason the people do it is to supply the rest of the world with quality product. And it's not going to change anytime soon. And it will probably get better going into the future.
Excellent. Rowan, you'll love this. Why should every footballer eat South African citrus?
Citrus is an inherently healthy product. And I think South Africa produces consistently some of the best quality of citrus in the world. So if you want to maintain a healthy mind and a healthy body, you need to eat healthy. Yeah,
and every South African rugby player eats South African citrus, and that's why you might just win against us when we come over for the tournament. Lianne, please wrap up for us. I think it's been such an interesting mix. Having Justin on our teaser trailer last week, give us a real in-depth understanding as to how South African citrus was formed and where it is today and where it's going to be in the future. To have both Vaughan and Johnny to give the understanding as to the amount of R&D that's going on now and in the future, and to have Gio and Rowan give us a real understanding of what it's like actually on the ground. And I love what Gio said. You're planting a tree potentially for 50 years. You can't get better environmentally than that. Lianne, what do you think? Please wrap up for us.
Yeah, I just think two things, just as a little antidote, little saying, with our sports and our rugby players and the banter between footballers and rugby players. One of the things when I grew up is every time you did sports, I think it was on that half break in your sports, someone would come out with a plate of segments of citrus, and that's what you would get refreshed with. You would eat that. It would set you up for your second half of your match. So, our South Africans and our sports people have been brought up on eating citrus during their games matches. So a little bit of a story there. But I think in terms of our citrus industry, just touching on the different aspects of it during this broadcast, you can understand that our citrus industry is strong, it's connected, it's built on very, very strong foundations, be it from the research, from our citrus variety development to our investment in our plantations, the passion of our farmers who grow the citrus. I know, Max, we ran out of time today, but we didn't touch on some of the transformation projects that are going on, as well as sustainability. A lot of our farmers are starting to put on solar onto their farms to generate power back into the grid. So our whole ecosystem in our citrus sector is very, very strong and very focused on the markets that we supply to. And of course, we just grow beautiful fruit because we have beautiful soils and beautiful weather. So, I think the whole package is there for the South African citrus industry.
And I'm sure some of you have seen, we just had a great comment from Dowie Murray saying, buy South African citrus. You will never but something else. You will never taste something else. Our sun is the best ingredient for our tasty fruit. So let's just say that again. Buy South African citrus. You will never taste anything better. Our sun is the best ingredient for our tasty fruit. Everyone, thank you very much for your time today with the PMA in South Africa, Beanstalk.Global. Lianne, can you just say thank you very much to the rest of your team, because we wouldn't be able to do it without them, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Jennifer. Anouk, you somewhere out there, thanks for your support, always.
And everyone, South African citrus is just phenomenal. I'm not saying that because I'm completely biased towards you, but I am. But it is, you taste other citrus in the UK alone, it just doesn't compare to South African citrus. So the more that we all can do to persuade, especially the younger generation, to consume South African citrus, the healthier they'll be and a better planet we'll have. Everyone, thank you very much for your time. Keep safe, and we look forward to seeing you on the next PMA Beanstalk broadcast. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.